Hello, everyone, and welcome to ROKStudios. I'm Stan Miller. I'm PR and Analyst Relations Manager for Rockwell Automation in the EMEA region, and I'm joined today by Piers Lamb. He is Sales Director for UK and Ireland for Universal Pack. Piers, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Piers, today we're here to talk a little bit about data-ready packaging machines, designing uptime, traceability, and service at scale. This is a great topic, but before we get into it, could you tell us a little bit about your company?
So Universal Pack is one of the industry leaders in the sachet and stick pack industry. We produce machines, standalone machines and full lines for some of the biggest multinational companies across many different industries, focusing primarily on food and pharmaceuticals.
That's perfect context for our conversation. First question for you. When you think about a packaging machine being data ready, what decisions need to be made early to ensure traceability, compliance expectations, and long-term serviceability don't become last-minute add-ons?
The honest answer is that data ready has to be the design intent. We cannot bolt this on at the end. First, we have to design the architecture for the connectivity, choosing an open standardized protocol such as OPC, and then this will trickle down into the sensors, the structure of the HMI, parameters, etc. So the second thing is defining the data that will then matter the most, and then how we service and access this. For example, like with the mechanical design, the data needs to be planned from the beginning. Otherwise, you have no design.
Got it. Piers, many OEMs are trying to reduce engineering bottlenecks and skill constraints. Where have you seen standardization make the biggest difference in build quality and speed without sacrificing customization?
In our opinion, it's quite important to standardize your interfaces, however, not the application logic. If you try and standardize absolutely everything, you end up with a very rigid system. But if you standardize how the modules talk to each other, you free up the engineers to focus on the thing that genuinely needs customizing. It's important to do this with some prudence, take the time to make it right for the first 2 or 3 machines, and then you can roll this out once you've found the right recipe.
Piers, let me ask you this. Remote support has moved beyond that break-fix dynamic. What are the most practical data points you've found useful for reducing downtime, and how do you balance speed of support with cybersecurity and compliance expectations?
Honestly, sometimes this can be a very difficult topic, mainly around the security and the rigidity of the customer. Some customers won't allow us to actually access via remote support for the security reasons. So obviously in this situation, it's almost impossible. However, when we actually have that access and that support, we're able to gather a lot of data and information. Never really anything too dramatic. It's usually stuff like if there's a motor that may be drawing a bit more power, or perhaps temperature variation across the seal. However, these are signals that although they're small, if you catch them early, they can turn reactive maintenance into preventative maintenance, and you can almost kill the issue before it even occurs. Every remote session that we do is generally VPN based. We log everything, we know exactly who accessed, when they accessed, and obviously this is important data to then provide to the customer and keep for ourselves. And for regulated industries like the pharmaceutical industry, this is a compliance must. Your second part of the question, the tension between speed and security, this is real, but fundamentally they're in conflict. Okay, so a well-designed remote access architecture is both fast and secure generally.
Piers, across the life cycle, OEMs are exploring service-led models, remote diagnostics, a bit of what you talked about, performance optimization, proactive support. In your view, what makes servitization credible to customers, and what pitfalls should OEMs avoid when turning machine data into long-term value?
Servitization isn't just a commercial model change. It requires different skills, relationships, processes, and, well, most importantly, as I mentioned, the relationship with the customer, between the customer and the service engineer, for example. When it's done well, it can make a genuine change to the business. It should never be, we built it, we give it to you, we're done. There must be a relationship, there must be a team, a partnership growing together. That's something that we very much value and see great results from. At the end of the day, credibility comes from outcomes, not from dashboards. And the pitfalls I'd warn against are don't provide too much data.
Makes perfect sense. I mean, particularly when you're taking a look at the life cycle of a machine, end to end, I think you've really made some great points there. Piers, thank you so much for sharing your insights into such an interesting topic.
Not a
And
problem.
most importantly, we appreciate you joining us in the studio today.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for watching. If you'd like to learn more about industrial automation and digital transformation, visit rockwellautomation.com.